A different point of view now, Francesca, from someone whom we consider a friend, though we may not always see eye to eye. He is Rick Ungar, the co-host of Steele and Ungar, Sirius XM Radio. So, Rick, as we were doing the pre-interviews, we tried to get one of the bill's sponsors. They wouldn't come on. You graciously came on with the stipulation, as I understand it, that you're an advocate for the Second Amendment, but you think there is a reason for this bill. Give us your rationale on this.
You still hear that clicking?
Apparently, Rick Ungar is not hearing us, so we will wait until we get the high sign. Hello, Rick, can you hear me? Apparently not. They're going to work on that. This is television in action here. Francesca, while we're here waiting to make sure we can get Rick connected to us, it was interesting to hear Bill Frady's take on it, putting it in Hollywood terms like the movie Minority Report, right, where you can predict that someone might be involved in a crime to step in with a restraining order.
Well, I think what's interesting. Oh, we have Rick?
Oh, good. Well, we'll get back to what Francesca has to say after we get a hold of Rick. Rick, we appreciate your time. Now we have you there, and we're glad to establish the connection. Your take on this bill in California, Rick Ungar.
I got to say something first, JD. You know me pretty well. I'm a pretty reasonable person. And you should know, if you've ever read anything I've written about gun issues, I am no ardent anti-gun person. I'm really not. If anything, I think that people who tend to be against gun ownership don't appreciate the cultural aspects of it for many people in the country. That said, what I just heard in the conversation preceding me really upset me. It's okay if you don't like this law. It's fine. There are probably many reasons not to. Misinforming is a bad idea. Bill actually said there's no due process. A, Bill is clearly not a lawyer, and B, shame on Bill for saying something like that without knowing what he's talking about. What's been proposed is a preliminary injunction. There are two kinds of preliminary injunctions you can get. One is what we call a temporary restraining order situation, a TRO. You can get a TRO on short notice and show up in a court and make your case without the other side being there if they've had notice, if the judge thinks it's worth it, and it is limited to an extremely short time. Nobody has proposed a TRO. A preliminary restraining order requires due process, service of the action. The defendant must be in court. There must be an appearance. The evidence is put forth by both sides, and a judge decides. So for him to tell your audience that is shameful, and it really upset me, I got to tell you. Let's stick to facts, okay? Facts count. You may not like this bill in the final analysis, but let's stick to facts, okay?
Rick, sorry to interrupt you. So my question for you is this. Would you think that this bill is enough then to prevent situations like what happened a few weeks ago from occurring?
In the real world, I think probably not every time, to be sure, and maybe only on occasion. You know, the way I'm viewing it is as something of a tool that might help in the same way that, let's face it, if you enjoin somebody from getting within 100 feet of you, it doesn't mean that they're not going to get within 100 feet of you if they mean you harm. It is a tool. It's not going to be the solution to this problem, but it's a fairly intelligent way of trying to do something that may help a touchy situation. And let me add this too, for those who are going to make the argument that this is violative of Second Amendment rights, no, it is not. Every one of our constitutional rights have limits, every single one of them. Libel libel is a limitation on our First Amendment right. You can't lie about somebody and hurt them. It's a limitation. There are limitations that are established on virtually every one of our rights. This is not an undue limitation.
All right, Rick Ungar, we appreciate your point of view on it, and we'll keep our eye on what happens in the State Assembly out in Sacramento. Thanks very much for being here. So that's his take, and we also heard from Bill Frady. What's your take? Why don't you tweet us your comments at Newsmax TV, #America's Forum.